Welcome to the Unquiet Mind podcast. Today, I'm joined by the Jenna Green, a fellow MS advocate and pretty much an outspoken woman in this community. And I'm super excited to have you here. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you so much for having me, Dawn. It is always a pleasure to speak with you, and I appreciate so much what you do for us in our community as well.
Thank you. Thank you. We have been, I guess, having conversations about managing MS and managing our symptoms. I think it's something that we do on a regular basis. But lately, we have, I think, been tossing around the idea of, God, I miss wearing heels. I miss being able to go out and being spontaneous and not having to worry about where's the bathroom or, when can I leave? You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's almost as if we are, and I think there's a title for it, we grieve our former self. So post or pre-diagnosis, you're, this footloose, fancy-free person, at least I was, and I think you were as well, because we were in the prime of our lives, very young, and then bam, a diagnosis comes. And then,
Absolutely.
right. And you don't realize, I think you wake up one day, maybe 5 years later, 10 years later, however long it takes for you to go through that process of grief, if you will, you start thinking, God, I miss who I was before. And so I wanted to ask you, do you ever have thoughts of, I do grieve. I do grieve the old Jenna. Who were you?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. And I think it's very common. And I think that's why it's so important that you're having this discussion, because it's one thing to be in the prime of your life and be healthy, and then bam, you're just sideswiped by this chronic illness diagnosis. But then to also feel completely alone in your grief of losing your former self or your former dreams or your former spontaneity or your former shoe wear, whatever it is. I mean, hey, those things brought us joy. And it's terrible to feel alone, which is, why I think it's so important that you always talk about these issues that remind people that, you aren't alone and you're struggling. And even I'm actually coming up on my 6-year diagnosis anniversary. And I was in the prime of my life. I was 31 years old and for all like appearances, very healthy. I'd recently lost weight, and I was deep into the hustle culture, working a lot and overworking and not really taking great care of myself, truthfully. But I thought I was invincible. I had that invisible privilege of health that no one realizes that they have until they lose it. And yeah, I think the grief still comes sometimes in waves for me, but for the most part, I was able to process the grief. It took me a few years at therapy and speaking with other people like you in the community and listening to other stories and understanding that, grief is a process. And I know they talk about the stages of grief and things like that. But when you're living with a disease like MS, where a flare or an infection or something can kind of derail your health and your plans again, the grief isn't as linear as it might be with grieving a more, I guess I'd say, traditional
Something
loss.
tangible. Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think for me, the grief weighed so heavily on me that I was spun into this cycle of denial and didn't recognize it. So for many years, it was as if I lived like everybody else, and I felt like everyone else and I was normal. And at least I was telling myself I was normal. I mean, I was, but
Right.
of course I'm living with an invisible illness. So I think like I said, the weight of missing that, because I was one of those women there where I was like, I have to wear heels. I don't care what you say. I don't care if I look like I'm drunk when I'm walking. I'm still going to wear my heels. And if I fall, I fall, and just say I sprained my ankle. But it's a long process, and it takes, like you said, therapy. It takes conversations with others in the community, like with you and just with, healthcare professionals. If I didn't have my physician, my neurologist and my my team of doctors, I don't think that I would be able to manage knowing who I am now. But because like we're always evolving anyway, naturally, even if you have nothing wrong, if you just have rheumatoid arthritis or you have, you know, I don't know, sprained toes or something, I don't know.
Right. Even if you're perfectly healthy, we are
Perfectly healthy.
all growing. Otherwise,
Yeah.
what are you, a cat, I mean, the caterpillar is growing. I mean, like, unless you're like a grasshopper and you're never changing, but throughout the years, we all change. Things outside of our control change. Obviously, that's never been more highlighted than the past few years, but personal growth isn't really optional. You can pretend that it is, but I guess it's not going to be for your own benefit. And for some ways, I think I like who I am much more now than when I was diagnosed.
I'm so glad that you said that because that was my next question. Do you like this person? Do
I
you really
do.
enjoy being Jenna post diagnosis?
I think I really do now. It took me a long time to get to this point. Again, it's not easy. And there are still moments, of course, like with anyone else, no matter what you're going through. I think everyone has those moments where they're feeling unhappy or they're dealing with depression or anxiety and other invisible illnesses that may or may not be related to your MS. But yes, I think I do actually like who I am and I like who I'm becoming. I like that I'm focusing on myself more and I've reprioritized those things. How about you, Dawn? Because I know you were so young when you were diagnosed and it's been, you're really a MS expert, I guess. If that's, I don't know, I mean that as a compliment. I'm not sure how else to word it.
Thanks. I guess that's a good thing. Thank you for asking me that. I haven't really, I've thought about it, but now that you posed the question and hearing what you're saying, I really do. I love who I am now. Not that I didn't like who I was before, but I I've grown with MS, or MS has grown with me, almost like it's this other person and it's just never going away. I'm married to it, whether I like it or not. It's a commitment that I didn't sign up for, but I'm just going to deal with it.
Exactly. It's like that, it's like your shadow. You can't get rid of it. You didn't ask for it, but it's kind of always there with you. Sometimes it's bigger than other times. Sometimes it's a little bit less noticeable.
It's a
It's still
relationship.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a relationship. Like if you think about a romantic partnership or even a platonic friendship, you have these ebbs and flows, these ups and downs, and you hate that being sometimes, and you can't stand it. And I can't say that I ever love MS, but I love what it's brought me, and I love who I speak to, for example, like you, like I said, and other medical professionals in my life. I wouldn't be here right now. I am grateful, and that I don't know why I'm like afraid to say I'm grateful, but I
It
am.
sounds, it sounds strange to me as well to say that I'm grateful for my MS, but when you put it that way, I truly am, because MS has helped me I mean, MS has brought me you, and you are a gift in my life, as well as many other people that are become gifts in my life. MS has helped me to become to kind of like reclaim my own power in my advocacy work and given me a new passion that I never had before. I always wanted to help people, but with a background in marketing, I wasn't working for nonprofits or anything like that. It was more like, the marketing was a great job and I enjoyed it, but it wasn't changing the world. Let's put it that way. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think at all.
Mhm.
But having a passion for advocacy and for speaking up for myself and others. That's really been a gift, and I am grateful. I'm grateful for that too. And yet I still sometimes grieve not only the life that I had, the flexibility, the energy. Oh my gosh, I miss the energy. But again, I'm sure, my dad would say the same thing. As a healthy 66-year-old man, he misses having the energy he did at 30,
Of course.
right? He misses that. But I think in some ways I had to also grieve the hopes and dreams I had for my life prior to my MS diagnosis. And that's not to say that everyone's MS diagnosis would change the trajectory of their lives or what they can do or can't do, because I still do a lot of the same type of work and I have similar dreams and hopes. But there were certain things that now aren't important to me anymore, I'd say. And it's changed my priorities. Yes, it's changed my priorities, but I still at some times grieve the hopes I had before my diagnosis. I grieve that.
I love that you said that, because I'm still doing work that I sought out to do prior to my diagnosis. I thought, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to change the world. I am going to be this compassionate person and make sure that, children have the education that they need and they deserve. Little did I know that it was going to shift my life, but I'm still teaching. It was as if the universe or the stars or whatever your higher power is that you believe in, like kind of positions you in a way that's like, well, you thought that, but no, you're going to teach like this. You're going to teach that subject versus English as a second language. And so
Exactly.
I'm still helping. Right. And you're still doing the same thing, which I think is beautiful. So it's like transferable skills, as they say on resumes.
Absolutely. The skills that we had prior to our diagnosis are entirely transferable and they can grow with us. I still use marketing to raise awareness for advocacy and help other people to feel not alone. And I still do marketing strategy, and I still find that, I call that my nerd joy. I'm very nerdy about it. I love that kind of data and stuff, even though my brain doesn't like creating spreadsheets the way that I used to. But I can't say I'm grieving the loss of the joy of a spreadsheet. I'm just finding the joy in different areas.
Jenna, you are such a light, and I am fueled by your work and your advocacy. I think that, it's amazing to have other MS, friends to talk with and people who understand. I have to say thank you, and I appreciate you. I love that you come on to the podcast and speak with me, and we talk about these wonderful issues that, again, we're helping people.
Thank you, Dawn. You've helped me more than I think I'll ever be able to express as a friend, as a podcast host, as a community advocate. What you're doing is so critical, and we need more people like you in this world. So I'm just honored to know you and to be your friend. And if MS brought me you, I'm grateful for it.
That's all I can say too. You and so many other beautiful people that we're friends with. And let's just go somewhere and make magic, I suppose, turning these lemons into lemonade.
Yeah, we're all doing the best that we can every day. That's all we can do.
And you can find Jenna at please correct me if I'm wrong, at the Jenna Green on Instagram. She is very active and just out there in the world. So
I try from my corner of my living room. This, thank goodness for technology.
That's right. Have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me, and we will be chatting with you all soon.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thank you.
Was that good?